Now, I don't know about you, but if I never flew again, it wouldn't bother me, and this isn't going to encourage me. Air travel could be about to get a whole lot bumpier, apparently, as climate change destabilises air currents at altitudes used by commercial airliners. This is according to scientists at the universities of Reading and East Anglia, who claim the chance of experiencing atmospheric turbulence on transatlantic flights is most likely to double in the next 40 years. Already, turbulence damages aircraft and costs the industry as much as £98 million every year. It also injures hundreds of airline passengers and puts the fear of the good God into many more of us. Well, perhaps you've had an experience of turbulence that now makes you literally tremble when the old fasten your seatbelt sign comes on. Let's try to get some reassurance from Paul Williams, Dr. Paul Williams of the University of Reading's National Centre for Atmospheric Science. Paul, welcome to the programme.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Let's start with the real basics. What is turbulence and what causes it?
Planes experience turbulence whenever they encounter airspace in which there are relatively strong vertical airflow. So airflow blowing from down to up or from up to down, and that flow exerts a force on the wings of the plane and it gets buffeted around randomly up and down. And that's what passengers experience as a bumpy flight caused by turbulence.
So why did you carry out this research?
Well, as you've said in your introduction, turbulence is a major pain for the airlines, and in fact planes encounter significant turbulence tens of thousands of times each year worldwide, which of course at one end of the spectrum just knocks a few drinks over and is a minor nuisance. But at the more serious end, it does injure hundreds of passengers and crew every year. So it's an important problem with important societal implications.
So what about this link then between climate change and increased turbulence, indeed much worse turbulence, twice as bad, you're saying?
Yes, and it's odd because most people, when you mention climate change, think of the fact that it's getting warmer in the lower part of the atmosphere where we live. But what is less well known is that climate change is also changing the wind speeds 10 kilometres above our heads where planes fly. And in particular, the jet stream, which is a giant river of air up there, is being accelerated, and that is making the atmosphere more susceptible to the instability that causes turbulence to form.
Well, no one likes turbulence, but how often, Paul, does it actually cause an accident?
Very rarely. Turbulence is a rare phenomenon, and in fact 99% of the atmosphere does not contain turbulence at any one time. Only 1% of the atmosphere contains turbulence, and what we're suggesting is that could double and become 2% by the middle of this century.
Actually, I feel a bit more reassured.
That's
yes.
right. So even then, 98% of airspace will be free from turbulence, and even the 1% of turbulence is not enough to cause serious injuries or bring a plane down. It's extreme turbulence can do that, but this is very, very rare indeed.
Yeah, so at one point I was imagining a situation where we'd have to abandon air travel altogether, but we're not actually thinking of anything as severe as that.
I think what most people will see is that the fasten seatbelt sign will be on perhaps twice as often as it is today, and perhaps the bit of red wine might get knocked over and land on their trousers or something. But I don't think we're talking about planes falling out of the sky. We're just talking about flights becoming less comfortable than they are today.
Yeah, I don't know about you, obviously, Paul, but I mean, I don't like it. When the aircrew stop serving and sit down, that's when I really begin to fear.
Well, funnily enough, I actually quite like it these days because it makes it a pleasant change from watching it on a computer screen in simulations. I like to actually experience the sort of thing I'm working on. So.
Right, and do you cheerily reassure the people around you?
Well, I do keep my seatbelt fastened at all times, which is the sensible thing to do, even when the light is not switched on.
Right, OK, thank you. Lovely to talk to you.
And you.
That's Dr. Paul Williams of Reading University's National Centre for Atmospheric Science. So in the end, actually, he calmed my fears, it has to be said. But if you have suffered turbulence recently, and it was particularly horrible, we'd love to hear from you. 0500 288 291. It's really not much fun if you've got kids with you, I know. It's Radio 2, here are the Beach Boys.